Hello guys, today we will be starting with our class 10th syllabus discussion, and here we are going to study various chapters. The chapters starting from chapter number 1, that's real number, and up to the last chapter, that's probability. So before we begin, let's discuss the syllabus that we are going to study this year for the session 2023 and 2024. The first unit that we are going to study is real numbers. In real numbers, we are going to discuss introduction about the real numbers. Then after that, we are going to discuss the fundamental theorems of arithmetic. And after that, we will be discussing about irrational numbers. And then at the last, we will summarize what we have studied in the whole unit. Thereafter, we will go towards the polynomials. What are the polynomials? How we perform various operations associated with polynomials. First, we will begin with introduction and then followed by geometrical meaning of the zeros of a polynomial, and then we will go towards relationship between zeros and coefficients of a polynomial, and then at last we will summarize what has to be studied and what has to be done in the whole unit. Considering your examination point of view, that's annual board exams that you are going to face. Suppose different types of boards are there, state boards or central boards or ICSE board, and particularly we will be discussing about the JKBOSE, that Jammu Kashmir Board of School Education. And for the third unit, we will be discussing about pair of linear equations in two variables. You would have already discussed in this chapter in the previous classes, but you would have been given a little introduction and some minor problems. In linear equation in two variables, we will be basically discussing first of all introduction, then it will be followed by graphical method of solution of pair of linear equations, how we solve them graphically, and then third we'll move towards algebraic methods of solving a pair of linear equations, where we'll be discussing two main methods, that substitution method and elimination method, and last we'll summarize what we have done and what are the chances of the problems that we can encounter in our board exams. And then we have the fourth unit, that's quadratic equations. We will be discussing about quadratic equations and the various operations that are done and the problems associated with them. First of all, we'll be discussing as introduction, then we'll move towards quadratic equations, and then we'll go towards solution of a quadratic equation by factorization, how we make factors and then solve our quadratic equation. And then we have different types of roots or nature of roots. We have positive, negative or imaginary. We'll also discussing that, and at last we'll be discussing about summarize. In summary, we will be discussing what we have studied across the whole unit, and then after, once we are done with arithmetic equations, we'll be taking up arithmetic progressions. Suppose you have studied various number series, we will be discussing about the number series. First of all, we will begin with introduction, then we will be going with arithmetic progressions, then we will be discussing about how to calculate the nth term of an arithmetic progression, and last but the least, we will be discussing about sum of first n terms of an arithmetic progression. They are also represented as AP. And lastly, we will be summarizing about the whole unit. And then sixth unit that we are going to discuss is all about triangles. In triangles, we will be discussing first of all about introduction, then we will be discussing about figures that are similar, then similarity of triangles followed by criteria for similarity of triangles, then we'll summarize. This unit is important, and this unit carries maximum weightage, and most of the questions can be asked from this unit, so we will study it briefly. And then we'll be moving towards another unit, that's coordinate geometry or practical geometry, in which we make use of graph paper or coordinates. we'll be plotting our figures, and we'll be discussing about the distance, area related that. First of all, we'll begin with introduction, then distance formula, then section formula, and then at the last we'll be summarizing what we have studied across the whole unit. And then 8th unit, that's introduction to trigonometry. This also an important unit, and this can be pursued briefly with guys opting for science or non-medical or medical subjects in 11th and 12th, and this unit is also important from the examination point of view. First of all, in trigonometry, we'll be discussing about introduction, then followed by trigonometric ratios, then we'll move towards trigonometric ratios of some specific angles, then not the last, we'll be discussing about trigonometric identities, and then we'll be discussing about summarizing whole unit. In trigonometric identities, we will be discussing various identities associated with sine, cos, tan, cosec, secant, cot, and how they are used across applications. We'll also discuss some practical applications so that you get a brief idea how trigonometry affects our day-to-day life. And the 9th unit, we will be discussing about some applications, practical applications of trigonometry. We'll be dealing mostly with heights and distances, and then last we'll summarize what we have studied across the whole unit. And the 10th unit that we are going to discuss is all about circles. What is a circle? How we draw a tangent to a circle, number of tangents that can be drawn to a circle from a point, and then we'll summarize and the various properties associated with circles. And the 11th unit that we'll be going discuss is about areas related to circles. In this, we'll be discussing about what is a sector, what is the segment of a circle, and then how we calculate the area and different properties associated with such figures. And 12th unit we'll be going to discuss about is the surface area and volumes. You would have already studied this unit in your previous classes. Here we will be discussing about more shapes and their surface areas and volumes. We will begin with introduction, then introduction will be followed by surface area of combination of different types of solids, then volume of different types of combination of solids, and then we'll summarize the whole unit. 13th unit that we are going to study about is statistics. Statistics will be first we will introduce the chapter, then will be followed by data, and we'll be able to calculate the mean, mode, and median of the data. The data can be grouped or ungrouped, and we'll summarize at last this unit. And in the 14th unit that we are going to discuss, that's probability, and this is the last unit that deals with our 10th class, and this chapter is also important from the examination point of view, and this can be asked, more questions can be asked from this unit. To begin with this, then we have some proofs in mathematics that deals with appendix A1, that's specified in your book, and here we'll be discussing about introduction, various mathematical statements, deductive reasoning, conjectures, theorems, proofs, and mathematical reasoning, followed by negation of a statement, converse of a statement, proof by contradiction, and we'll summarize the whole unit, that's proof in mathematics. After that, we'll be discussing about appendix A2 that has been put in your book, and here we'll be discussing about mathematical modeling. Here we will be first of all introducing what's modeling, then we'll be discussing about stages in mathematical modeling and some illustrations, and then we'll be discussing why mathematical modeling is important, and then at last we'll be summarizing the whole unit. So this is the core and crux that we have to study this session, and hope you will be able to benefit from my lectures. I will be delivering these lectures as soon as I finish the other classes, and I will be mainly focusing on class 9th and class 10th for this session. So hope you like this video. Please give a like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Bye bye. Take care.